I don't have no sympathy. I'm sadistic. I really don't care. I'll do it and I'll do it again over and over and over.
That was Jaime Osuna, the man too dangerous to even have a cellmate. He is a 34-year-old man from Bakersfield, California. Jaime was born on March 1988. He's known as the man with 1,000 faces. I've heard that nickname before, the man with 1,000 faces, but that can mean anything, considering the fact that he has multiple personality disorder and that there are barely any spots on his face without a tattoo. Jaime considers himself a cruel joker. This is a man that has taken pictures of all of his scenes, all his crime scenes, and he's collected them as if they were trophies. The things that he's done have proven that he has taken the role of a comic book supervillain throughout his life. As a really young child, he was abused by his father and then after his stepfather. On one occasion, his stepfather tied him to a tree and he started whipping him. His uncle even threw a brick at him. Parents that abuse kids that aren't even theirs is something else. Jaime was different from other kids. More and more signs became clear. As a kid, Jaime tortured and killed his own pet.
Since I was a kid, 8, 9 years old, I killed animals. My mom would go to the store, I'll put the cat in the freezer. 15 minutes, let it out, put it in the oven, let it out.
I heard that serial killers like to do that. That they'll go from killing smaller things like insects to killing bigger animals until they get to people. And that they won't stop just because they like the thrill and excitement that the physical act gives. Because of how his life was as a kid, going through abuse, suffering from borderline personality disorder, he turned to drugs, gangs, and alcohol. Later, at about the age of 13, Jaime claims that this was when he first murdered somebody. Nobody knows about it. Later, at 15, he was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. He kept getting in trouble because drug possession, battery, and assault offenses. That was back in 2003. Years later, Jaime met a woman. Jaime was like in his 20s. When Jaime met this woman, he really liked her, and so he stabbed a man just for talking to her. For this, he was supposed to serve 9 months. Shortly after his release for this, he got her pregnant. Months after he was just released, his wife had called the police on him for hitting her. He's weird. In 2011, after getting out again, he was arrested for torturing and murdering a woman. Her name was Yvette Peña. She was only 36 years old. When Jaime murdered this woman, he called his wife, his pregnant wife, and he told her to watch the news.
Was there anybody hurt or stabbed at the Morocco Hotel on Union last night? Because he said he did it.
As if he was just talking to a friend about something interesting that he just did. He told her to watch the news and specifically for anything pertaining to the motel where he was staying. Jaime was only 23 at the time. Jaime tortured and murdered her in that motel room. The scene was a lot to take in. Jaime definitely took his time to let people know what he did to Yvette. Yvette was stabbed to death and Jaime denied it at first. He met Yvette and he was one of the last people that saw her before her death.
I met her like one time, then I came back the next night and I seen opportunity, no one's there.
Because of this murder, Jaime was denied bail. That meant that he had no choice but to be in jail for a while. Jaime waited 6 years for his trial. And in 2017, he pled guilty to the first-degree murder. He was trying to get the death penalty. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. After this, Jaime was known as a serial killer. He was found guilty and he was sent to Concord State Prison. Throughout the years, he'd continue to get in trouble. He would always be found with weapons, and so he was considered a high-risk staff assaultant. What am I supposed to say to that? He is a threat to guards. A while later, 2 years after Jaime had already been there, a new inmate had arrived. His name was Romero, and he had been in prison for a long time. Louis was put in the same cell as Jaime, and Jaime put a white sheet covering the view around the cell's bars. This is how he got away with torturing and murdering Louis with a makeshift razor. That was Jaime saying, "I have nothing to lose from this." Jaime decapitated Lewis and he made a necklace out of his body parts. It had to have been an entire setup. In an interview, Jaime told them how much he liked killing, how much he liked what he did, and that he would do it again. I don't know who wanted Lewis dead. I don't know if anyone wanted him dead at all. But obviously putting him in a cell with someone that likes to kill meant that someone was going to die. Jaime never even had a cellmate before. He wasn't allowed a cellmate. Guards saw the white sheet and they made Jaime take it down, and that's how they found out what happened. He was charged with killing Lewis. Lewis didn't even want to be in a cell with Jaime because he knew something would happen. Lewis tried hard to change his life. He turned to Christianity. The same guards who had stumbled across the scene, they lied about what they saw. They reported both inmates still alive after they checked up. A lawsuit was filed in order to figure out why they were put in a cell together in the first place. Days later, Jaime fired his attorneys. Jaime then requested a Marsden hearing. A Marsden hearing is when the judge rules on the Marsden motion. A Marsden motion is the only means by which a criminal defendant fire a court-appointed attorney or communicate with a judge directly in a California state court. The judge granted this request. This is a man that never wanted to be free in the first place. Lewis's family filed a lawsuit against the Department of Corrections. Although Jaime has done some horrible things to people that have gotten him attention, it wasn't even the only instance where he got a hold of an inmate. On one occasion, Jaime somehow got into another inmate's cell and he cut his face multiple times. The public will never know too much about Jaime though. It's like he wants to be some secret. There is really nothing more about Jaime's wife or his own child anywhere online. But Jaime actually said once he had his child that he wanted to be the father that he never had. That being said, that means that something switched. At a time where he wanted to be a normal parent, but something switched. He went from wanting to be the father he never had to wanting to be a man that didn't even want to be a part of society anymore.
If I could go back and change it, I'll do it again and over again. And if I'm released, I'll end up back here with the same thing.